And Dr. Suhail will be with us in a few minutes. Anybody has any question for him today, please, he can mention it now so we can start talking right away with him. السلام عليكم دكتور سهيل.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
How's everything with Ramadan?
الحمد لله الحمد لله. Great season والله.
Alhamdulillah.
أيوة.
I ask if anybody has any question. Looks like nobody has. If you can start.
Maybe we can start anyway. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Just make sure that if you have any questions or don't hesitate. So it just thought came to my mind that subhanallah, when we did not know or did not really understand what Ramadan is about, especially when we were young, and the way we inherited Islam, we were just thinking about how the day is over and when the month is over, and basically people were busy with other things, the Ramadan, almost against the teachings of Islam. I mean, people eat more, they spend more time cooking, more time grocery shopping, more time on TV, and it is meant exactly the opposite. SubhanAllah, the more you appreciate this and understand this month, the more you see that every day when it goes by, you feel sad. It's like someone who's so close to you and departed. I mean, it's you wish that the whole year is Ramadan. It's an amazing spirit. opportunity for reset and renew the iman and spiritual development, very intensive opportunity for spiritual development that you will not have the rest of the year. I mean, the rest of the year you can maintain what you accomplish in Ramadan, but there is no other opportunity to go to the next level and upgrade other than this month. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from now you understand what does it mean, yuridullahu bikum al-yusr. Allah wants ease for you, not hardship. In Ramadan, yes, in Ramadan. Because if you think about it, the whole setup here, the fact that you're fasting, your sincerity increases, because that's probably the only worship act that you cannot impress people with it. And then your willpower increases, your ability to restrain yourself. You feel so strong, even though sometimes you are physically exhausted, but spiritually you feel very high and very strong. There is hardly anything that you cannot do or you cannot change, it's amazing. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a fasting came to the things that are necessity of life. Is telling us that if you can abstain from these, then you can abstain from anything else that is haram or bad or harmful. These are necessities of life and they are good things, tayyibat, yeah. And you abstain from them and you are capable. And then you come and say, well, I cannot quit smoking, or I cannot do this, or I cannot pray on time, or whatever. What is this? With this willpower, you can transform yourself. You can change all your habits. And then, subhanAllah, yani, putting all these opportunities there that you can get all your sins forgiven, rewards are multiplied so that you have the incentive to do more. Then there is the night of Qadr, and you can be exempt from hellfire. So many prizes and so many opportunities that it's basically meant to bring you to much higher levels so that after Ramadan, you develop your own force and driving force. You don't need that push anymore, because Ramadan was pushing you a whole month, and it is about time for you to get to develop a force of your own, or driving force. So take advantage of it. I mean, take full advantage of it, because like life, every day that goes by does not come back. And but this is a very special. Make sure that your relationship with the Quran improves in Ramadan and stays strong after Ramadan. Relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the quality of your prayer, the amount of time you spend in dhikr and in conscious of Allah, and Allah is present in your life, compared to the time that you spend forgetting. That ratio should increase in Ramadan tremendously, because the goal should be 24/7 conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only the time that you sleep maybe. But and then I mentioned recently that Quran guidance does not end. I'm surprised myself how still until this point I read a verse or listen to a verse and as if I heard it the first time, even though I knew it like for so many years. I mentioned one verse recently, I think in Jumu'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا شياطين الإنس والجن يوحي بعضهم إلى بعض زخرف القول غرورا ولو شاء ربك ما فعلوه فذرهم وما يفترون. And then ولتصغى إليه أفئدة الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة وليرضوه وَلِيَقْتَرِفُوا مَا هُمْ مُقْتَرِفُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that they try to find the translation, and if somebody can help, this is in Surah Al-An'am. كذلك جعلنا Anyway, the point, the main point is that how people, I mean, there are shayateen ins and jinn, there are shayateen, the shayateen that we know, and shayateen, the human shayateen, because shaitan meaning misleading, and there are some human who can mislead you. So, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they whisper to one another, and then وَلِتَصْغَى إِلَيْهِ أَفْئِدَةُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, meaning that yeah, I think I found it. Yeah, so that the hearts of those who do not believe in the hereafter may incline toward their deceit. So these shayateen who whisper to mislead people and work against messengers, some people will listen to them. And Quran in an eloquent way says they listen with their hearts to tell us that there is a channel that your senses are the channels to your heart and to your mind. If you're not careful about what goes through those channels, your heart will be corrupt. So Quran is telling us not only it goes from their ears to their heart, they listen with their hearts. It reminds me with the other verse that when they say they listen with their tongue to tell us how quickly they hear something, and they say, إِذْ تَلَقَّوْنَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. Again, another eloquent and sarcastic for people so that they know how ugly it is to hear and say. Quran is telling us that these people, they hear with their tongue. So there is not even time to go from ear to tongue. And here tells us they hear with their hearts. And then وَلِيَرْضَوْهُ. After you listen to something or you see it, often it becomes normal. It becomes normal. And then what? وَلِيَقْتَرِفُوا مَا هُمْ مُقْتَرِفُونَ. After it becomes normal, you're going to commit it yourself. And you can see this happening time and again. A lot of social problems were introduced by the TV in the beginning, and they were rejected by people. But then increasingly people are watching what becomes normal. It becomes normal. The next step is they're going to do it themselves. A lot of things were introduced this way. So it's extremely important to protect your senses and to take advantage of Ramadan to do that. Because Ramadan, you have an extra incentive to protect your senses. You're working so hard for your fasting, you don't want to spoil it by not controlling your senses. And that should be all the time. Should be all the time, that careful about what we hear so that you don't get careful about what we see, careful about what we say, because all these, their effect goes directly to the hearts and to the minds. They corrupt the minds and they corrupt the hearts. So وَلِتَصْغَى إِلَيْهِ, I've never thought about it this way. وَلِتَصْغَى إِلَيْهِ أَفْئِدَةُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ وَلِيَرْضَوْهُ وَلِيَقْتَرِفُوا مَا هُمْ مُقْتَرِفُونَ. So prevention, I mean, you just take care of things early on, because after every step, it becomes more difficult. It becomes more difficult after you see it or you hear it. It becomes more difficult when it becomes normal. That's why wrong things should never become normal. At least you reject it in your heart. If you cannot do anything about munkar, It should never become normal. Still waiting for anyone to have any question or suggestions or points of discussion.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother, first of all, happy Ramadan to all our members of the group. I just have a question. I heard, I have not watched it myself, that there has been like a movie made about, the Umayyad Empire, especially about the Muawiyah in Saudi Arabia, and Al-Azhar has banned it. And also some other countries, Islamic countries, they have banned the distribution of it. I don't know if you have heard about this movie or if you have watched part of it. Just what do you think at this critical time,
No, watching, I don't. I didn't. I have no time to spend on these things. Time is much more precious to either watch or to debate these issues. I made the quick comment on this. I said that shows that we are really way off. I mean, first of all, we are stuck in history, and that's still bad. Number two, what's happening is against the teachings of Islam. So, first of all, what's the point of doing something that is controversial? I mean, Muslims are not lacking division and hatred and revenge and killing each other. So there is no point in pouring fuel on the fire. Yeah. So there was no need for this. There was no point. But even if it happened, you see, there are people who put the movie together. So what? Yeah. Unfortunately, people with their discussion, they promoted it. They even made publicity for it. So without that discussion, maybe less people would have watched it. But when you open that discussion, you can only promote it. That's number two. Number three, the kind of stands is nothing in the middle. We are extremists by nature. I mean, our people are extremists by nature. They don't know moderation. They don't know objectivity. It's either with us or against us, good, bad. I'm sure there are people who defended Muawiyah and I mean, praised him, etc. They never watched the movie and they never read anything about history. And the people also, the other side, who make this person like worse than shaitan. And I'm sure they have no clue about it. Nobody's reading history. Nobody knows anything. There are people who talk about the Umayyad and Abbasi and Ottomani, have no clue about what's happening. I think the idea is there was the great khulafa and great time and great history and great. There was nothing, hardly anything great, especially about the rulers and what they do, what they did. I mean, some, at least many of them. Now, for the Islamic approach is very simple. تلك أمة قد خلت. Those people are gone. I mean, we can spend the rest of our life debating Muawiyah and debating Ali ibn Abi Talib, debating this, debating that. Who was right? Who was wrong? Is this a good person? Is this a bad person? All of this is waste of time. People who died, passed away, Allah is telling us, تلك أمة قد خلت لها ما كسبت ولكم ما كسبتم ولا تسألون عما كانوا يفعلون. Verse repeated twice in Surah Al-Baqarah. These people are gone. They are accountable for what they did. You are accountable for what you did, for what you do. And you're not going to be asked about their deeds. I mean, if people want to debate, then they have to be objective. They have to gather the facts and they have to scrutinize the information, because the Islamic literature is full of nonsense. There are a lot of Israeliyat, there are a lot of stories that are very unfounded to both extremes. I mean, people made up hadith. Don't you think they can make up stories? So, alhamdulillah, Allah preserved the Quran. Yeah. But if people want to discuss, then they have to go and study academically. and it's not good or bad or no. It's what was wrong, what was right, what happened, why, what lessons can we learn. That's what history is good for. There is nothing else. We cannot repeat history. We cannot do anything about it. We can just try to analyze it and learn lessons. I had my own analysis of the big fitna or civil war that happened. It makes sense. I'm very comfortable with it. Very logic. Is that this is the result of something that happened early on. There was an explosive growth of the Muslim community from a small community, very compact, very cohesive in Medina. People know each other, very high standards of taqwa and manners, etc., trust and everything. They didn't need any elaborate system. And then this community, almost overnight, absorbs two big empires, the Roman and the Persian. 3 months, less than 3 months. It was August and November. August and November, in 3 months, this small community with very primitive, very basic tools and administrative things. There are nothing written, no laws, no. I mean, things were so spontaneous going. And then suddenly you have millions of people and millions of square miles. You know what? Recently I was discussing with a person. I said, you know what? To bring the idea closer to you, imagine Saudi Arabia today with all the resources it has. Or you know what? Imagine Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia with all the money and the wealth and everything they have now. Imagine in 3 months, Saudi Arabia absorbs Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, and then after a short while, it was Egypt. Imagine this Saudi Arabia now, the government and the system and their capacity are running this whole region now. Of course, it's going to collapse. Of course, there will be a big mismatch. You can't run huge populations and diverse populations, etc., overnight with the same system and with the same capacity. You don't have the capacity to do that. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is happening. Happened, was covered by the unique personality of Umar al-Khattab, which I don't think is going to happen again. I mean, it's if there is possibility of a benevolent dictator, it's Umar al-Khattab, even though he was not a dictator. But he was so decisive, so charismatic, so just, so zahid and mutajarrid. There is no weak point. I mean, you can't be a strong leader if you're doing things here and there, and if people can have things against you. That personality covered that mismatch. And when he was killed, Uthman ibn Affan, I mean, we're not here evaluating taqwa of people, but there is no comparison. There is no comparison in leadership skills. Uthman ibn Affan may be atqa, Allahu a'lam. Allah knows that. We are not here to, but definitely there is no comparison. And subhanAllah, as soon as people notice some weakness on top, as soon as there are some rumors, he's appointing his cousins and family members, and he's this and he's that, etc. We went into chaos. And by the way, the rest of our history, all of it was like this. All of it. All of it. Strong dictator, everybody obeys. The moment there is a weakness, and then you have chaos, total chaos. That stability is just putting things under the rug. And then everything comes out as soon as people sense some weakness in the. We have seen it in Iraq and in Syria and everywhere. I mean, everywhere, Libya, etc. When people, that was not stability before. It was oppression. That people are suppressed and scared. But the moment that they see weakness, and then everything comes out. So that happened, they became worse, and then the tenure of Ali bin Abi Talib, it was even, things were getting out of hand. It's not his fault or his problem. It's this population became so diverse. There are so many conspiracies. There are so many groups. There are a lot of people who have revenge, and they become Muslim by name, or they just were hypocrite, etc. So total mess. And then we had this bloody civil wars, and then we had people were longing for stability even under dictatorship, and that's why they accepted the rule of Muawiyah. He ruled for 20 years. It's like nowadays people accepting the Syrian government. They call it Sultat al-Amr al-Waqa. Sultat al-Amr al-Waqa meaning the de facto in charge. I mean, so somebody who is there like de facto and established some stability and law and order. People forgot about Shura, forgot about everything. The problem is, number one, it went too long. It wasn't even short. If it was temporary, and then the worst, of course, when it comes to the Sunnah that Muawiyah started and continued for the rest of our history, which is when he appointed his son. Who was not qualified, or at least the most qualified. So if people discuss this and discuss with the purpose of not to be angry and not to curse and not to praise, and then, no, just what can we learn from this? What lessons? By the way, we never learned that lesson. Until now, we never learned the lesson that that cycle has to be broken. So anybody who comes and say, I'm going to be dictator for a while, say, no, we have seen this movie before. You're going to be dictator forever. It's not going to happen, because nobody in our history who established themselves and become strong, and then they handed over power and say, okay, now you can have a democracy. Never happened. So always starts temporary, becomes permanent, and then tawrith, istibdad, and then tawrith. That has been the cycle. We have seen it in almost every Arab leader in recent time. A lot of them, especially those who came with a coup, like Nasser and etc. A lot of them, they said, we are temporary, we're going to transition, etc. And then nothing happened. So unfortunately, we are yet to learn that lesson. Anyway, let us learn that history is good for lessons, and that's the only thing that we don't do. And we do everything that we are not supposed to do, which is to remain stuck in history, to use it as an excuse for our failure now. So when people ask us, what are you achieving these days, Muslims, say, look what we have done before. No, you didn't do that. That's your ancestors have done that. That's not you. So that's the wrong way to use history. And those who are trying to reinstate history. Like now we need Khalifa, who will be ruling all the Muslims, like the time of Khalifa. We called it Khalifa. It's absolute the power that is inherited. I mean, we just put the label on it, and that label makes it look good. No, we don't want that to come back. We don't want to be completely dependent on the personality of the ruler. So it depends on how lucky we are. We get a good one, and then the next one becomes corrupt. And no, we don't want to be dependent on it. There are people, there are groups who are dreaming of bringing that history back. And all of that is because of the wrong historical narration that we have. The prevalent and the prevailing historical narration among Muslims is that things have been great until the collapse of the Ottoman state. There is nothing that can be more wrong than this. Things were not great. And Islam was not in good shape. Muslims were not in good shape. Because by the time we reached that moment, we went through a tunnel of about 12 centuries of dictatorship and power struggle and bloody power struggle. And that had a lot of bruises on Islam and on the Muslim minds and Muslim personality. A lot of damage that need to be fixed. You tell me we were being great until that point, and then we went into the wrong exit. We just need to find our way back to the highway. No. No, it's much deeper than that. That's why all these simple remedies did not fix the problem. Now, we thought that Islam was great, so we brought people to that Islam. A lot of people start practicing that Islam. What happened in the Muslim world? Nothing has changed. A lot of women wearing hijab, masajid are full, Quranic school, Islamic schools, Quranic channels, Quranic websites, Quranic YouTube, Quranic social, Islamic this, shuyukh, etc. What happened? Nothing. Nothing has changed. And in some cases, changed to the worse. Yeah. No. Our problem is the colonization. Okay, let's rally to push colonization out. We did it. What happened? That doesn't say that we shouldn't have done that, but that's not the problem. That's the symptoms. That's the consequences. When you push the occupation out, then you start solving the problem. Not you feel that mission accomplished and you go and celebrate and go home. Then we said, no, you know what? Sorry for those wrong diagnoses. Our problem is dictatorship. Okay. The same people who say our problem is dictatorship, they want to bring back that khilaf, which I don't know how they put them together in their minds. Now our problem is dictatorship. I rally and then topple those regimes. When the dictatorship has gone in Tunisia, while a long time ago in Egypt, in Libya, in Yemen, what happened? Do you see anything happening? Nothing. Do you see any real change? No. So it is about time to people to revisit that historical narration and really to go deep when diagnosing the problem without acknowledging the damage that those centuries has caused to the Islam itself, to our understanding of Islam. And to ourselves, we're going nowhere. That's why you need rediscover the religion, the original religion that was lost through those centuries, and then you need really to reformatting the Muslim mind and the Muslim personality, because the damage is so deep and so compounded. The way we think, the way we behave, the way, etc. You can go to the Muslim world. Do you see Islam in the society? You don't.
I like to talk with Mr. Hugh a little bit, if we can. Mr. Hugh, are you with us? How are you?
Yeah, I'm well.
Okay. I
Peace
like
be
to know
with
the
you.
reason why in the Middle East right now, the Christian, they are fasting. The great fasting from now till, I think, April 17. Why in America we don't see any sign of that?
It depends on where you're looking. I was just at church earlier this morning, and there were people that were reporting the fasting. I actually, last night, we had a dinner at our place. The American Turkish Friendship Association came over, and Muslims from that group, also people from the Baha'i faith joined us, and we had a dinner. And we ended it, we stopped it right at 6:10. Are you familiar with what happened at 6:10 last night?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people were fasting up to there, and basically the Christians have an option to do whatever they want in terms of doing something to observe Lent. I remember several months ago, Dr. Ganucci was talking about Ramadan, talking to the group about Ramadan, and talking about how daily prayers and religious practices are maintenance, and that during Ramadan would be a time of moving up to a higher level of spirituality, a higher level of practice. And so that's what we try to do in the Christian church. but we don't have a prescribed set of rituals that we need to do. Some people will fast, some people will give up a certain thing, chocolate, alcohol. They can also do it in positive ways by spending more time giving, working in charity or doing something in a positive way rather than giving it up. So I would suggest that much of it has to do with a different way of observing this time. And again, go back to the option of what works best for you. I fast on a regular basis for health reasons. So fasting is not an appropriate thing for me here. I would look for those things that are more important to me in terms of trying to get me from that daily maintenance level of spirituality to a higher level. So I think that's the main difference I see right now. And the other thing is, if you're not in Christian circles, if you're not involved with people, you may not see that. One of the teachings that Jesus said was, when you're fasting, don't go out and make yourself look like you're fasting. Go and do it in private, and do it because it's between you and God, and not for show with the people outside you. So that may be another reason why you may not see it as much.
Mm.
Thank you, Mr. Hugh. But why the Middle East? The Eastern churches, they do more than the Western churches.
That may be true, but again, the leadership of churches are not always representative of what's going on with the people in the churches.
Thank you, Mr. Hugh.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Suhail, do you have any comments about?
No, I mean, the only thing is that it's always good to learn, especially when you are living in a diverse society. Any step that makes people know each other and understand each other more, which will lead to mutual respect and cooperation for the greater good, it's a positive one. Because even, bigotry thrives on ignorance. So when people don't know each other, first of all, they may hate each other, because we have a saying, I think there is something similar in English, that people usually hate what or despise what they don't know. الإنسان عدو من يجهل. So always a good opportunity to get to understand and respect and accommodate. And I think probably not many countries in the world where Muslims are accommodated like in this country. Even schools now, they mention about Ramadan and the Eid, and they put it in their calendars, and they respect you so much when you're fasting, or when you say this is, I cannot do it because of religious duty or Jumu'ah. So much respect. I don't think there is something that can match this level. I mean, I know that other democracies also, but here it's even more, because the nature of the society was pluralistic from the beginning, and it was built by immigrants. So there is no very strong nationalism, or it's very, and that's perfect for people who want to practice their religion and even promote it, and etc. There is no limits, no restrictions. Any thoughts, point of discussions, questions, reflection?
Nobody has any question, I think.
Why quiet?
We have new people today. First time I see their names.
Good.
We can go back to the same point we mentioned last week, dua. You mentioned dua is really different. First time in my life I heard about it, We can,
One of the things that are really misunderstood and not taken advantage of, the idea of prayers or supplication. asking Allah and begging. Unfortunately, the concept itself was twisted. So people, they have a, first of all, they don't think that this is, they think that it's optional. I mean, you can make dua or you cannot make dua, you're good, you're okay. And you know, that's not. Allah does not like it if you're not asking. Because if you're not asking, it means you're telling Allah that you can do on your own. You don't need help. And then you're going to be on your own. So it's not, it's a very strong expression of your relationship with Allah that comes through the door of dependence. You're showing Allah how desperate you need Him and how badly you need Him and you cannot do without Him, etc. So, and Quran is mentioned prayer and supplication and dua in contrast with the things that are bad. إن الله لا يحب المعتدين, that as if those كلا إن الإنسان لا يطغى أن رآه استغنى, when you don't feel the need, you may become arrogant. So that has to be fixed. That the act itself, it's not that wallahi, and I made prayers and were not answered before. So what's the point? Or they're not going to be answered. No, the act itself is an act of worship and very high quality or high act of worship. That showing, expressing that. Number two, so it has to be done, and it has to be done frequently and sincerely. And number two, and regardless of the outcome, it should become independent from the outcome. It's not make dua and then wait. I was told that I think in the Islamic school in Shirley Gate, I think teacher or principal, or they will face the question that is very challenging, but it came from a kid. I think she was teaching them dua or so, and the kid said, we prayed for Gaza and Palestine, and why our prayers were not answered. So, and she really was challenging for her to answer. But anyway, so should be independent from the outcome. That's number one. Number two, you should be very confident, 100% that Allah will not send you back empty-handed. Allah very generous, very merciful, has all the power and the resources. Everything belongs to Him. So there is no reason why He's not going to give you. You will not accept this from a human being. If they tell you there is a human being who's very rich and very benevolent and very merciful and very etc., and you think that if you knock on their doors, they will tell you, go away. No. How can you accept it from Allah? No. So should be fully confident that Allah will not send you empty-handed, but may not give you what you're asking for and may not give it to you now. For a reason He knows them best. He may give you what you want, but later, in the best timing. Maybe the timing now is not good for you. He may give you something better, equivalent but better for you. He may spare you something bad that was coming your way. He may reserve it for you on the day of judgment when you need it the most. So you are in a win-win situation. There is no way to lose. So you just take advantage of it. Take advantage and keep praying and putting your needs in for Allah to satisfy them too. So you have to have that full trust that Allah will not send you back empty-handed and you're going to get something. And then you have to full trust that Allah will give you what is best for you. Because what you're asking for may not be good for you. If you take the full picture of this life and the hereafter. The other thing that I mentioned is that some people may not make dua because they say they don't memorize some special prayers or supplications. You don't have to. I mean, if you know them, if you know some of the adaya ma'thura, meaning prayers that were recommended and was made by the Prophet, good. But even if you don't, I mean, you can do it in any language. Just ask Allah what you're needing. What do you need? Put it in a very simple language. Allah understands every language. So put it in your own words and or oh Allah, give me this. Oh Allah, please protect me from this. Oh Allah, just say it in plain words. Not doesn't have to be even English or Arabic, or it doesn't have to be any particular language. So Allah is inviting us to do that, and we cannot afford to decline it, because again, when you're making prayers, you are asking for guidance, for protection, for forgiveness, and for tawfiq. Tawfiq meaning that Allah will guide you to the best decisions, even when you're not sure. Not doing it, they're going to be on your own. The opposite of tawfiq is khidlan. Khidlan meaning Allah will leave you on your own. So you lose all that help and support that is available. You just manage. You confront the challenges of your life on your own. A lot of things need to be adjusted and fixed. Misconceptions, because when the religion became frozen over time, some things became superficial, something essential became marginal, some marginal stuff became essential. It's total mutilation of great, inspiring, empowering religion. We turned into something that it's not having any impact on the individual or on the society. The maximum it does is for an individual to be a good person. Good person meaning basically they don't commit haram and they observe their religious obligation, but they can be passive, they can be isolated. And nowadays, even some basic manners are being, some basic manners, the lack of them became accepted. So people nowadays, when they see somebody who is religious and then takes bribery or don't have work ethics or abuse families, it became normal. Or cheat or lie. They don't see in majority of Muslim society or most of Muslim society nowadays, these things, they became okay. They reconcile them. So you can see somebody who prays in the masjid and all the Islamic appearance and dhikr and Quran, etc. And then when they ask, they found that their spousal relationship or their relationship with children or with neighbors or and the way they would their work ethics or the way they interact with others, there is no association between them, and that's very bad. I mean, we really need to work hard to reestablish the connection between being religious and being very decent and being very high moral standard and principles that you stick to them. There is no double standard. There is no, you can see it almost in every incident that takes place. You see double standards left and right. Just what the catastrophe, what happened in Syria recently. There are people under Bashar, they used to see these things and justify them, and now they became, they criminalize them, and vice versa. There are people who were criminalizing these acts under Bashar, and now they just find a way to justify them. You just have to have one principle and apply it everywhere. That's what Quran tells us, even against yourself, against your parent, against the people you like, you people you hate, the people who transgressed against you. So many verses keep telling us you have to be fair in all circumstances. There is no excuse. Allah did not leave any excuse. The verse in Surah An-Nisa, the verses in Surah Al-Ma'idah, the verses about Adl, you can search in Quran, justice, you find that Quran eliminated all the excuses. Whether you like someone, whether against yourself or parents or relatives, whether someone who's weak or poor, you may be really out of compassion, you may become biased towards them. No, you shouldn't. Someone who's powerful, You have probably tendency to be biased. No, you shouldn't. Someone you don't like, you tend to be biased. No, you don't have to. You shouldn't. Someone who harmed you in the past. ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم أن صدوكم عن المسجد الحرام. They harmed you before. Still, you have to be fair. You can't have more than that.
Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
I know we don't have too much time, but and I feel guilty all the time that I'm reaching out, or I try to bother you guys, or to bother you, Dr. Suhail, mainly in the last moment. But regarding to the brothers and the movie, brother, I feel as bad a brother because I didn't see anything to any movies or any programs to even show the last 15 minutes of killing and the genocide in Gaza. You can imagine how the people in Gaza should feel, like they are forgotten. So let's think about that. I know that it's like you can do whatever you want to do to protect history, but is this the best time for that, or there is other things that we should be worried about? The reason why I opened the microphone today is like I want to welcome Brother Bassem back from Syria, and I was hoping if he can tell us what's going on in there, because it's very, from the Syrian perspective, because it's very confusing personally to me, and things seems to are getting really hectic. I don't know if this is the best word to use, but can you share with us some things about Syria, Brother Bassem?
I will be biased, 90% of the people of Syria right now, they are very happy.
Biased because I want to hear your perspective.
Okay, the people happy in Syria, what's going on, The people happy with the change. It's no question about it. I visited four cities in Syria in my visit, Almost everybody happy. From all religions, from all sectors. It's no question about it. Alawite happy, Druze happy, Christian happy, Muslim happy, everybody happy, Because it's a freedom. You can say what you want to say in Syria. I went to dinner with Shia friend from Damascus, They are happy, seriously. The Syrian regime was very bad, because
Abu Abdullah, if you give him more time, he will tell you that also things are united. Syria is one, like the Shara said.
No, I am talking about the people. I am not talking the people happy.
Yeah, they should be happy, definitely. I mean,
Yeah,
who cannot be happy after getting rid of that brutal?
Yeah,
corrupt-
really the people happy, but the people poor there. It's no money in Syria. It's no jobs in Syria. He destroyed all manufacturers, everything destroyed in Syria.
Yeah, you're right.
In Syria in the 1950s, we have companies employ 10,000 people of Damascus. They shut it down. The previous regime was very bad, He destroyed all part of the economy in Syria.
I mean, bad, I think it's not the right word. It just cannot be worse.
Yeah. Inshallah, will be better. What happened last week in Syria, I lived it there. When I was in Syria, it happened in a small scale, but they didn't bother anybody. Probably this higher scale, some interference from Iran, from Russia. I think, but I think it will be over. Syria will not be perfect. Dr. Saleh talked about it. Syria cannot be perfect very soon. Take years, probably 10 years, 15 years to go back stand. If you go visit part of Damascus, it's thousands of buildings destroyed in the ground.
We can only pray, inshallah, for the best.
Inshallah, inshallah.
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 So we can talk later. Brother Muhammad, I can call you. We can talk directly about it.
Yes, please.
جزاكم الله خير خير.
وإياكم.
Okay. See you next Sunday, inshallah, at 12 noon. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
السلام ورحمة الله.